Hello everyone and welcome for the first time this year to rFactor 2, where we've got a new rookie series in Low Fuel Motorsport. Gone is the Alpine Cup. It's been replaced by the all-new Porsche Cayman GT4 Cup. And if qualifying at this first round at Zandvoort is anything to go by, it could be a good series for me. I've put it on the front row of the grid. By far my best qualifying performance in rFactor 2. Only two drivers got into the 139s. That's me in second and the pole position man, Joshua Parrott. However, starting at the front is one thing. Staying there for an entire 20-minute race is a whole different challenge. Can we do it? Let's get down to the grid and find out. And it's go! We're underway at Zandvoort, and what a start from the pole position man, Joshua Parrott. He was off that line like a rocket when the lights went green. We were away pretty decently as well. In fact, we had enough space to move over to the left to make our route through turn one a little bit smoother. Behind me, Manuel Anez and Tristan Reynaud have held on to their starting positions of third and fourth place respectively. It remains to be seen whether we can make a break from those two. Tristan Reynaud was about 0.7 of a second slower in qualifying, so we may be able to gap him, but it's going to be tougher to lose Manuel Anez. He was only 0.1 of a second slower than me in qualifying, so I think we're going to be in for a battle here to hold on to this second place for Anez. Meanwhile, out front, Joshua Parrott is clearing off. He's opened up a 1.3 second advantage already, and we're only half a lap into this race. And it does look like Tristan Reynaud in fourth is beginning to drop off. He's 2.2 seconds behind now. Manuel Anez is coming with me though. He is 0.8 of a second back, so we've opened up a little bit of breathing room. Oh, it's going to come down a bit now because we missed the apex into that left-hander. We've got a proper slide on. And the yellow flags are out, but that must be for an instant behind because Joshua Parrott's the only driver in front of me. I've seen several yellow flags out already this race, so I'm guessing we've lost quite a few of the drivers a bit further back down the field. Once we get this first lap out the way, we can go back and check out some replays to see what happened to some of those guys. But for now, we're approaching the end of lap one. Joshua Parrott, the pole position man, is clearing away. He's got a 1.8 second lead. We're in second position, holding on to our starting place. And then it's Manuel Anez in third, Tristan Reynaud in fourth, and Adrian Pereda in fifth. Okay, so that was an immaculately clean first lap for us, but it wasn't nearly as clean back down the grid. We're watching a replay of the start now where several drivers are going to come to grief. There's a car out on the grass in the background, and then he's going to outbrake himself and run into the rear of another car. There's several comings together, but it's the number 25, Donny Bellafronte, who comes off the worst. A couple of corners later, that's Andrea Sellen taking the long way around to try and get past Stefano Bigi, but there's contact between the pair of them as they exit the corner and they both crash out. Well, by the end of the lap, we saw that Adrian Pereda had worked his way up to fifth position, and it's largely down to this aggressive move up the inside of Hugh Smell. There's huge contact, and Mel goes flying into the barrier. He's out onto the gravel. He tries to rejoin out of control, somehow manages to miss everyone. On board with Hugh now. Hold on to your hats for this one. This is going to be a wild ride. It's a huge contact. I don't even know how he's still facing in the right direction at the moment, but when he rejoins, that's how close it came to disaster. But yeah, Pereda had exceeded track limits on the inside to try and make that pass, so the move is never really on. And speaking of track limits, Pierre Hibon was having a real difficulty finding them, and he crashed out in spectacular style at the same spot. And then a couple of corners later, there's another big collision. That Cesar Chicon ended up on his roof after trying to challenge Stefano Bigi. Remember Pierre Hibon? Well, his first lap went from bad to worse. I'm amazed he even managed to get back on track after the impact from that first crash, but this second one is equally as violent. We're returning to the live action at the end of lap 5. We're almost at the halfway point of the race. Now, the reason I've skipped forward past so many laps is because nothing happened. I was in a lonely second place. I had no chance of keeping up with the leader, Joshua Parrott. You can see from the leaderboard that he's opened up an advantage of nearly 4 seconds. Meanwhile, behind, Manuel Anez in third. He's just over a second back. We've been lapping about a tenth or two quicker than Anez, so we've been able to open up a little bit of a gap. Now, the reason we're rejoining the live action now is because my race is going to unravel due to my own frustrations boiling over. I got far too wound up by back markers. Starting right here, that's Cesar Chacon rejoining and spearing across the track right in front of me. Now I managed to avoid him, but I had to lift off the gas, and in an instant the advantage I'd worked so hard to build up over Annes has been wiped out. Yeah, we've already seen Chacon once on lap 1 on his roof, and he's going to get turn 1 all wrong here, out onto the grass, which means he's out of control. He's deep out into the gravel. Now, I think at this point I can get by safely, but he rejoins and loses control, and I have to get right off the gas. So it took 5 laps of hard work to build up that 1.5 second advantage over Manuel Annes, and it's been wiped out in a second. Look at the gap now, 0.3 of a second. And to make matters worse, I get my line wrong coming into that right-hander. I'm out too wide, and there's the pass. I didn't just open the door for Annes, I carried his luggage for him too. So by this point I was feeling really frustrated with the back marker, which was stupid really because it wasn't his fault. Sure, he cost me a second earlier in the lap, but the only person to blame for me losing this position is myself. It was my mistake. However, sometimes in the heat of the battle you just seem to lose the ability to think rationally, and that was my problem here. And it's only going to get worse as we rejoin the live action on lap 7 and catch up to the next back marker, Mehdi Med. Now, I'm feeling frustrated already, and that's caused me to make a couple of minor mistakes, which has allowed Annes to open up a 1.1 second lead. But look how much difficulty he's having getting past this back marker. This is going to allow me to close back in. Now, it really looks like Mehdi doesn't want to be overtaken by the second place driver, and while that's great for me now because it's allowing me to reel them back in, there's also a niggling worry in the back of my mind. If he's making it this hard for Annes to get by, he's going to make it equally as hard for me to get by. So ideally I want to be right on the tail of Annes to pounce as well when there's a gap. But unfortunately we're just not close enough, as Annes is indeed going for a move up the inside into T1. Mehdi's not going to make it easy, but he's outbraked himself, so a huge gap opens up. Annes gets through, but unfortunately I'm not close enough to get through too. And now I find myself in the situation I was worried about. I'm stuck behind the back marker who doesn't want to be lapped, while my nearest rival in second place has a clear track in front of him. Now Mehdi has moved over to the left. Does that mean he wants to let me by? It doesn't look like it. He's back onto the racing line. Now all we can do is get as close as we can. There's no room up the inside. Oh, he's early on the brakes as well. We have to brake really hard to avoid running into the back of him. Oh, but now he is pulling over to let us by, thankfully. Oh no, he's not! He sideswipes us! We have to wrestle the car to avoid a crash. Once again, he moves to the inside line. Is he going to let us by now? No, he's not. He's taken the defensive line. We get squeezed out on the inside. There's no room there. Can we make a move at the inside of this left-hander? No, we're not close enough. Oh, this would be a tremendous battle if it was for a position, but it is so infuriating when you're trying to lap a driver and you can see the second-place driver clearing off. He's 4 seconds clear. Do you know what? I'm going to go for a dive bomb. I think it's the only way. Oh, we don't need to. He's run wide into the chicane. He's out to the gravel. I hope he's not going to rejoin to the left. No, he isn't. We've got past him. Now, I know drivers are under no obligation to make it easy for me to pass, but this did wind me up, particularly this instant when he pulls over and seemingly wants to let me by and then runs into me. We were so close there to being run off the track. That could have been my race over. Thankfully it wasn't, but it took a few more corners before I was finally able to get by him, and it involved this move up the inside into the chicane. Thankfully I didn't need to pull off the dive bomb that I planned. Now, I really should have taken a deep breath and calmed myself down here, but by this point I'd lost all my composure. I was really frustrated to see Annes gifted that 4.7 second advantage, and I was also frustrated to see my nearest challenger, Andre Paradis, close right in behind, so much so that I make the sloppiest of sloppy mistakes. Paradis charges through into third position, and all of a sudden I find myself out of the podium places. Yeah, completely my own fault this. I was sulking, I was feeling sorry for myself, I was angry, and it caused me to lose concentration, make a stupid mistake. The only person to blame for me losing this third position once again is myself. Well, by the time I got back up to racing speed, I was 4 seconds behind Paradis. We're now on the 12th lap, and I've halved that deficit to 2 seconds. I'm closing in on him fast here, but I'm running out of time to try and get that position back. And to make matters worse, a back marker has spun, and he's going to rejoin right alongside me. And unless he yields, I'm not going to be able to get around him here. But to be honest, it was a bit of a long shot that I was going to catch Paradis anyway. But I had a glimmer of hope because I took 1 second out of him on the previous lap. However, this is just about finishing me off. Once again, I'm going to have to move to the inside. Oh, wait a minute. No, he's out of control into the chicane. We're hard onto the brakes to avoid running into him. But that, I think, has finished us off. We're going to have to settle for 4th. Yeah, the back marker, Gabriel Freitas, just clips the grass there. It sends him into a spin. He clobbers the barrier. We're on the brakes hard to avoid running into him, but unfortunately, that gives Paradis the chance to clear off. Well, regrettably, I let my frustrations get the better of me in this race. It doesn't happen very often. Normally, I can stay calm no matter what the circumstance, but I couldn't today, and it's cost me a podium. The 2 places that I surrendered to Anis and Paradis were both due to my own mistakes. I can't blame back markers, I can only blame myself. And as we see Gabriel Freitas crash out spectacularly as he crosses the line to finish the race, let's check out the classified results. We can't really be disappointed with 4th place, can we? That's by far my best finish in rFactor 2. But it could and perhaps should have been better. I should have been looking at a 2nd place finish here. We were really comfortable in 2nd at the halfway point of this race. But ultimately I was slowed down a little bit by some back markers. That frustrated me. It caused me to lose my cool. And as we all know, when you drive angry, you don't tend to drive well. So there's my lesson to learn for next time. I must not lose my composure. Easier said than done, right? We'll see how we get on next time. I hope you'll be there to join me. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.